Welcome everybody. Today the topic is rebuilding a life. And in that today is the 15th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, I honor the victims and the families and the brave men and women who gave and continue to give their lives in service to protect and to rebuild our country. And I pray that our nation can be filled with people like you, people who love God, love our country, and love each other. People who are willing to dig out and rebuild their own life, as well as helping other people reconstruct theirs. Now, none of us are strangers to troubles. Life with all its ups and downs forces us to adjust, to adapt, and to rebuild. And the changes that we expect are far easier to deal with than the problems that we don't see coming. And we meet the one. We marry. Children are born. Children grow up, they leave, and sometimes they come back. And we too mature and eventually age out of this game that we call life. And in between, we search for that career that makes us feel successful and secure. And we spend much of our life doing minor rebuilds along the way. Now, the changes that we never see coming are much harder to handle. And they're much harder to bounce back from. And they take more of a concentrated effort to bounce back from. And they take more concentrated effort on our part. And the betrayal of a loved one, accidents, injuries, wars, natural disasters, sickness, loneliness, addiction, abuse, loss of income, even becoming the sole caregiver of a loved one are seldom expected. We all will have to reboot our lives or rebuild our lives at times. And the process of rebuilding a life will be different for everyone. But there are 4 basic steps we each will all need to negotiate through in order to succeed. Number 1 is assess the situation. What just happened? What needs to be done? What's this going to cost me? Number 2 is activate an excellent attitude. And you train yourself to stay positive and only associate with positive people. Number 3, act methodically. Figure out the steps you need to take and then take them. Don't wait for others to bail you out. And number 4, act daily. Do something every day to better your situation. Your dreams won't work until you do. Rome wasn't built in a day. Matthew 6:34 from the TLB, it says, "So don't be anxious about tomorrow. God will take care of your tomorrow too. Live one day at a time." Ralph Waldo Emerson said, quote, "Finish each day and be done with it. You have done what you could. Some blunders and absurdities no doubt crept in. Forget them as soon as you can. Tomorrow is a new day. Begin it well and serenely, and with too high a spirit to be cumbered with your old nonsense." End of quote. Whether you're trying to lose weight, heal up a bad relationship, conquer a great loss, or start a new career, at times we all need to rebuild our lives. There's a way. So the first one is assess the situation. And the first thing most people do when disaster strikes is wonder, what just happened and what am I going to do about it? We first assess the situation. We check it out. And what's the damage? What's it going to cost me? And how am I going to survive this? I passed a green Jeep yesterday that had been flipped on its side. And the chubby driver with a 2-day-old beard was unsuccessfully trying to hide from street view behind a telephone pole, which he didn't fit behind. And he sheepishly glanced back and forth at the passing traffic as he spoke to the 2 policemen, lights flashing on their black and white cars. And I thought, how in the world was he able to flip that Jeep on a dry, straight road in the middle of a gorgeous day? To me, it just didn't make any sense. And though it was none of my business, I assessed the situation. And I thought, what would I do had I flipped my Jeep? You know, I thought of the thousands of dollars of body damage, of body work, the tow truck cost, and tickets, which I'm sure he'll get some. You know, not to mention the walk of shame when he has to skulk home and tell his wife. Assess the situation. Luke 14, 28 through 32 from The Voice. Is there anyone here who, planning to build a new house, doesn't first sit down and figure out the cost so that you'll know if you can complete it? If you only get the foundation laid and then run out of money, you're going to look pretty foolish. Everyone passing by will poke fun at you. He started something he couldn't finish. When I was a kid, I lived in a small North Texas town that attracted more than its share of tornadoes. And we had a neighbor whose house was lifted from the basement, from the foundation, and destroyed. And these people never rebuilt. They just covered the low basement opening with boards and then covered those with tar paper. And the flat roof was then about 1 foot high off the ground. And they lived in an ugly, windowless basement with a flat tar paper roof. And even as a child, I wondered why they didn't rebuild the house. I assessed their situation. Verse 31 and 32. Or can you imagine a king going into battle against another king without first deciding whether it's possible with his 10,000 troops to face the 20,000 troops of the other? And if he decides he can't, won't he send an emissary and work out a truce? You know, Jesus knew the incredible disciplined power of the Roman legionnaires. And they'd been invading and utterly conquering the entire land around the Mediterranean Sea for the past 100 years. They occupied Israel. They owned Israel. We had just moved to Colorado, our 27th relocation in about as many years. And my family had gotten pretty good at change. And one morning before 7 a.m. Mountain Time, my friend Tom called me from Wyoming. I grabbed the phone, figured something was up. He told me to turn on the TV, and then he just stopped talking. So it seemed like an unusual request at that time of the morning. So Josephine and I clicked on the TV, and just then we saw big plumes of smoke billowing from the north tower of the World Trade Center. And some talking head said an airplane had flown into the building. And I thought, what? You know, it didn't make any sense. And we'd seen those twin towers being built in the early 70s. And now they're on fire, at least the North Tower was. And as we started staring at the television, all of a sudden it looked like another flying object of some sort struck the South Tower. And it too went up in flames. The day was September 11th, 2001. And our son was living in New York City at the time, and the modeling agency that he worked with was located somewhere downtown. We weren't sure. And we tried to call him, but the phone just rang and rang and rang, which sent a shiver, a shiver, a shiver into the core of our being. And when we finally were able to connect with him, he assured us that he was safe, but that 3,000 others weren't. And he sat up on a building top and watched the flood of people leave lower Manhattan covered in what to him looked like yellow dust, looked like a yellow tide walking across the Brooklyn Bridge. And he was stunned by the sight. And America rallied behind New York with unbelievable support. But we also went to war a few months after that. And this new conflict triggered a wave of destruction and a whole different sort of rebuild that was necessary, not with just material, but with men and women. And over the past 15 years, Josephine and I visited New York a number of times, and we saw the city assess the problem, fashion a unified attitude, take methodical action, and put in the necessary time. And because of the war on terror that was sparked by that event, thousands of families are now dealing with the lifelong cleanup and the rebuilding of broken people. And I'm just thankful to be around people like you, and I want to just say that you are amazing people, and you help some of these. You are some of these. And so from unnecessary weight loss to the loss of a loved one, the first thing we do when our life is flipped sideways is we calculate the damage. What just happened, and what am I going to do about it? What's the damage? What's it going to cost me? And how will I survive it? We first assess the situation. Everybody does. Now, second, we have to activate an excellent attitude, or stay positive. I tried to start everything with an A. And telling someone or telling ourselves to stay positive during a time of needed change or imminent crisis it's simple to say, but it's really hard to maintain. When your life is coming unglued, your relationship, your job, whatever it is, your body, it's hard. It's easy for someone to tell you, be positive, but it's really hard to do. But without it, you can't get to the next step. Not for long. And this persistent positive attitude is a powerful and necessary and contagious tool. Proverbs 17:22 from the NLT says, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a broken spirit saps a person's strength." The same verse from the Voice. "A joy-filled heart is a curative balm, but a broken spirit hurts all the way to the bone." All the way to the bone. See, God designed man to be positive. We're supposed to be positive. That's the way a human is designed to be. Isn't it easier to smile than to frown? Yet, what do you see mostly? Frowns. People are working hard to be bummed out. It's easier to be happy. We're designed to be. But the world is designed differently. We begin conquering life's problems by maintaining an excellent attitude. God gave us a plethora of beautiful words to help us cope with and overcome these negatives. The Word is full of them, just a few of them, like "I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me," Philippians 4:13. That's a pretty good one. How about we have access to exceeding abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us? That's a great verse from Ephesians, right? How about God wishes above all things for us to have health and prosperity. And our part of that job is to keep our soul, our heart, our lives positive and prospering. It's even as your soul prospers. How does your soul prosper? It's attitude, folks. God knows this. He designed us. That's 3 John 2. And we're told that whatever we ask in prayer, we will receive if we maintain faith, which is an eternally optimistic attitude and expectation. Mark 11:24. It's eternally optimistic attitude. That's all believing is. I know it's going to happen. There's no way in heck that I'm not getting that account, that job, that raise, that, whatever it is. Remember, if you say to that mountain, "Be removed and be cast into the sea," and you don't doubt in your heart, but you believe that what you say is going to come to pass, what's the Bible say? It's going to come to pass. Either God's telling the truth or He's lying. And there's no point in the lie. There's no point. But we've just lived so far below par. We just need to keep pumping these positives into our head. Any positives. From the Bible, from other books, from your mom, from your grandma, from your girlfriend, from your sister, it doesn't matter. Sometimes we need a process to keep ourselves positive. Now, I go on long mountain trail runs to clear out the cobwebs of negative thoughts. In fact, most teachings I put together while I'm running. I don't know why, it just works for me, you see. And also every day, I read or listen to some positive book that points my attitude toward the positive. I do it every day. I work it. And with positive words, I try to leave everybody better than when I found them. I try to do that with everybody I meet all day long. I tell them something good about themselves. And I also make myself smile even if I don't feel like smiling. I don't do it all day, but I try. It makes a big difference. On the Pikes Peak Marathon this year, I made up my mind to smile as much as I could. You got to do something, folks. And I wanted to make a difference. Plus, I needed all the help I could get. And this grueling high-altitude marathon is not a smiley type of race. And most of the 800 runners have to dig pretty deep just to make it to the top and back. And this year I added smiles to my supplement pouch. And dozens of times another runner would say, "Love to smile," as they passed me. Or I passed them, which would be unusual. And almost all the ever-vigilant search and rescue crews in their cool-looking red and black jackets with white crosses, they would clap me on as I ran by. "Way to go, man, great attitude." Every time I ran past them, they all said the same thing. So I was blessing them too. And I'd always thank them for their service, because they're volunteering to sit up there all day for 2 days, you see. See, a merry heart is truly heap big medicine. A merry heart, a cheerful heart, a proper attitude, a well-adjusted mindset is good medicine for you and for everybody else. I proved it on the marathon, that it blessed other people. I asked Mike, one of my business partners, what he did when the pressure was on. And he quickly said, "I go hard to the Word, and every day I read a chapter of a self-help book. That helps keep me positive. That helps keep me positive." And I ask you, what is your routine to maintain a positive attitude during duress or during times of pressure? What's your routine? If we don't have a routine, then we're not going to be good when the pressure hits. Do you play music? Do you do art? Do you go shopping? Do you exercise? Do you get a good night's sleep? Or do you call a trusted friend or parent or child? My friend Maureen told me that when she is attacked with massive problems, that she, quote, "assesses the situation, she designs a detailed plan on how to survive it, and she fights to maintain her normal routine." And I thought, boy, that's pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Because we're all going to get hit with stuff. Everybody. That's why I'm doing this stupid teaching. You see, my wife typically goes Italian for a moment, but quickly puts back on her beautiful smile and moves us all speedily in a positive direction. So if you react for a second, don't worry about it. If you have to go call somebody and vent, it's okay, but don't do it day after day after day. It doesn't do you or anybody else any good. It'll eventually just bring you back. It'll take you backwards. So what do you do to maintain an awesome attitude? What do you do? It's a good idea to practice it during your times of peace. That way, it'll be habitual when those dark days of the soul hit. And trust me, they're going to hit. John 14:27 from the ESV. "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." That's what Jesus said. I need to mention something like the power of the people that you hang around have on you. It's incredible. 1 Corinthians 15:33 from the CEV says, "Don't fool yourself. Bad friends will destroy you." From the TLB, it says, if you listen to them, you will start acting like them. Jim Rohn said, quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If they're less than you financially, your finances will drop. You know, if they're above, then you're probably going to start rising it up. Your mom might have said, hang out with people better than you. Well, nobody's better than me. You know, but that's not what she meant. If they're better at something than you, you're going to get better. If you're a tennis pro, you're not going to have any fun playing against a high school kid. It's not going to be any challenge, no matter how good that kid is. You see, figure out how to maintain your positive attitude. Associate mostly with positive people. Avoid negative conversations like the plague, and smile. You see, activate your excellent attitude. Now remember, you're not going to be able to avoid all negative people. Not if you have a job. But the point is you don't have to hang with them. You know, you don't have to hear everything that they did on the weekend. With whom? I don't care. I don't even want to hear it. You see, I mean, it just doesn't matter. You know, just keep yourself around positive people, and it will help you. It's going to help you activate your excellent attitude. Now, number 3, act methodically. This is one from Maureen. You know, figure out the steps you need to take and take them, but don't wait for others to bail you out. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. Why'd this happen to me? Who's going to come and help me? After World War II, the Allies had bombed the hell out of Hamburg, Germany, where my daughter-in-law's from. And we were there, we visited. And it looked like ancient buildings, but 80% of the city had been flattened and firebombed. And there was almost nothing left. But they didn't have a centralized government until 1949. So for 3 years after the war, if people wanted to rebuild anything, they did it on their own dime and their own time. And there was no government to help. No matter what anybody says, we did not rebuild everything. You see, they would, out of their own money, or their own time, they'd pick up the blocks, they'd clear the rubble, and they rebuilt their houses in that time. We have to pick up the pieces and rebuild our lives. It's not the government's job to take care of us. We all know that. It's not your mommy's job to take care of you unless you're a baby. You see, you know, it's our job to take care of ourselves. And so Ecclesiastes, this is a great one, 10:10 from the AMP. It says, if the axe is dull and he does not sharpen its edge, then he must exert more strength. But wisdom to sharpen the axe helps him succeed with less effort. Keep sharp. Keep yourself sharp on whatever you need to do. And it takes work, folks. It's hard to stay sharp. You can't just float, unfortunately. Abraham Lincoln said, quote, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. He knew about preparation. In painting a house, doesn't it take more time to prep the house than to paint it? Typically. You know, it takes more time to prep yourself to become great again, to become the person you dream of being, than it does being that person. It's a lifetime of preparation. When the pressure's on, when life seems to be spinning out of control, you're the one tasked to handle the situation. So you slow it down, stay sharp, plan it out even better, and act methodically. Because folks, no matter what you do, you're going to fail in it at times. We're going to fail in relationships at times. We're going to fail at jobs at times. We're going to fail at a lot of things at times. It's just the way life is. But you just get back up. You brush it off and you keep going. You rebuild, we rebuild, we reboot, we rebuild over and over and over our whole life. It's always work. We pick ourselves out of the ashes, out of the rubble, the phoenix, so to speak. You know, a while back, I lived in a quaint suburban town that thought very highly of itself. And I was driving down the road, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a pair of feet sticking out of the bushes, toes up. I thought, what the? I was curious. And I don't know if it was a gag or real. So I slammed on the brakes and spun my car around and drove back around the corner. And I hopped out of my vehicle and slammed it in the park. And when I got to the man in the bushes, there was already a crowd of people hovering over him. And if anyone had and I asked if anyone had called 911, and was told by everyone that yes, we have, because everyone had asked everyone. And all of a sudden, the emergency medical response team rolled up in their shiny red truck, lights flashing. And two men in dark clothing took their sunglasses off and patiently laid them on the dash. And then they sauntered around to the side of their pretty little truck, opened a side door, pulled out a huge black bag with heavy nylon handle straps, but with no sense of urgency, they walked up to the fallen man, asked us to take a step back, opened the black bag, pulled out the paddles of the defibrillator, opened the man's shirt, flipped a couple of switches, said, "Clear," pressed the paddles to the man's chest, and nothing. Nothing happened. The machine didn't work. You know, then one of the EMTs stayed next to the body while the other shrugged his shoulders and slowly walked to the shiny red truck and grabbed another similar black bag, grabbed the handles, and walked back to his buddy and to that man laying there on the ground. And I was going nuts inside. I thought, what is going on here? These should be the most prepared people in the city. It was frustrating and embarrassing to watch these two guys. And these were men trained in saving people's lives, yet they seemed to be just moving through some sort of script, some protocol of their profession. And once again, they went through the same slow, methodical process of prepping the defibrillator. But this time the paddles charged, the body jumped, but the man never regained consciousness. They were too late. They acted methodically, but they had no sense of urgency. I could tell they had no expectation of reviving that man. James 2:18 from the WE. We. In that case, someone may say, "You believe, and I do good things. Try to show me that you believe without doing any act of kindness, and I will show you that I believe by doing acts of kindness." Don't say you believe. Do something. If it's not in our actions, we are not believing. And so, clean up the rubble. Make sure you're sharp. That's why I shared that example. These guys weren't sharp. They weren't at the top of their game. See, positive action cures fear, not just action. It's positive action, and it's with expediency. What are your positive, methodical action plans? We should have them. We should all have them. And it's a lot easier to get through this. You that have been in the military, you were trained to do certain things, and you did it the same way every time. Keep things in your pack the same place on everybody. Everything's supposed to be the same. Are you ready? Are you ready for your life? Are you ready for some kind of conflict to happen? You see, who knows what's going to happen? I had a guy, a doctor, he was one of my clients, And he walked out with me to the car, and he started talking. And he leaned on the hood of his SUV, and he said, "Mark, I'm scared." This is a doctor talking to me. I said, and his name was also Mark. I said, "Mark, what are you afraid of?" He goes, "I'm afraid we're going to get attacked, and something's going to happen to my family." I said, the Bible says don't be anxious. And I said, also, if you get killed, you're never going to know it. So why worry about it? Live your life. If we live our life in fear of what could happen, then we're never going to do what could be done. Are you ready? Like my friend Maureen said, assess the situation, design a detailed plan on how to survive it, and maintain a normal routine. Just keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Don't let anything stop you from your goals. This isn't new stuff. Act methodically. And now finally, number 4, act daily. Do something every day to better your situation. Your dreams won't work until you do. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. But the Roman Empire lasted 1,000 years. You think they planned it out that way? They planned it to do that. Once they stopped acting on the way they'd done it before, not that it was good or bad, you see, that's when they lost their empire. The Roman soldiers used to have to carry all that equipment. The heavy shield, the breastplate, wear the helmet, the spike shoes, all this stuff, their sword, their dagger. They had to carry their lance. They had to carry a few days worth of food with them everywhere they went, all day long, no matter where they were, just in case they were called to battle or called to do some exercise. And so these guys were strong. Well, then later on in like 300 AD or something, they started complaining about it. They were tired of carrying that shield. They were tired of carrying all that stuff. And so once they let that stuff go, then other people beat them with their equipment. And of course, our country would never leave our equipment for other people to use. You see, So act daily. Do something every day to better your situation. Dale Carnegie said, if you want to avoid worry, do what Sir William Osler did. Live in day-tight compartments. Don't stew about the futures. Live each day until bedtime. End of quote. We've got to focus on the task at hand and then do all we can do today. That's all we got. All you have is right now. Everybody's waiting for someday. That's that. What do you call it? The lottery mentality. Someday, someday, someday. Well, we all know someday never comes. You got to make someday come. Make this day someday. Make it the greatest day of your life. Smile more. Be more positive. Try to better other people. Do something. Work hard to make this the greatest day. And then it becomes a habit of success. And we do it enough times, pretty soon we are what? A success. It has to happen. It's a law. You say to that mountain, move, it's going to move. We'll say to ourselves, move. That may be harder. If our thoughts are dominated by regrets, we forfeit the possibilities of today. Because all we're doing is looking or living in our rearview mirror. It's a dangerous way to drive, folks. If we worry about upcoming events, then we're unable to perform what needs to be done today as well. So we can't allow ourselves to be trapped in our past or in what we would like our future to be. We can only live today. Matthew 6:34 from the Phillips. Don't worry at all then about tomorrow. Tomorrow can take care of itself. One day's trouble is enough for one day. You ever had a day where you're just glad it's time for bed? And you know, when you hit the reset button and then you wake up, and a lot of times it's better the next day. You know, I have a nephew in Texas, and at his school, in the last couple of weeks, there was 5 suicide attempts. These kids, and I thought, what is so unhappy? I enjoyed being a kid. You know, you didn't have to work. You know, there's food, but I know everybody's situation isn't the same. You know, not everybody has a good situation at home, but 5, and one of them, my nephew Eric, he walked into the bathroom and saw this kid bleeding out. Now there were attempts. Nobody actually was able to complete the task that they started. But, you know, don't worry. Why would somebody do that? Well, they're bummed about something they did in the past or something that happened, or they're worried about something not happening in the future. So they think, I've lived my life, it's done. At 15, your life isn't done. At 50, your life isn't done. You see, I mean, there's so much. Even if we've messed things up, we can make it good if we just set our mind and do something every day. Act daily to better yourself. I like that. One day's trouble is enough for one day. We're going to chalk this one up for a loss. I lost yardage on that day. You know, but it's crazy. You have a job, machines break, costs you a lot of money. What are you going to do? You just keep going. You figure another way. There has to be a way. You know, do something today and every day to better your situation. See, this 24-hour concept was all God's idea. He knew the night-day model was something us humans could handle. He knew we were going to think bad things were going to happen. He knew it. You know, so he compartmentalized time into a 24-hour period and made the sun and moon to separate the day from the night. Like Genesis 1:5 and 1:14 say. You know, the God that formed, made, and created man and woman knew that 24 hours in a day was a doable number of hours for a human. We can handle that. We can handle it. At times our days may seem far too long. And some days they're far too short. You just can't get it all done, you see. But each day is held to that 24-hour time period. You see, that period of time isn't going to change in the near future either. So just get used to it. All you got is today, folks. How can you make today better? You could smile. You could think positive thoughts. You could help somebody else. You could clean your desk off. You know, you could go visit a friend that you had, and you could make a call, write a card, send a text, tweet, whatever you want to do. Do something good. Make a difference today, because it will make a difference for eternity. Genesis 8:22 from the GW. As long as the earth exists, planting and harvesting, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never stop. It's just going to keep clicking, folks. Boom, boom, boom. So make that day count. Make your day count. Make your day count. Every day, make it a little bit better than the last day. Like I said, I've told you before, if you wanted to change your life and you wanted to be 100% better than you are now, imagine if you could just change 1% a day. That means in 100 days, you'd be in 100% better. Just 1%, that's not much. That's 2 smiles. You see, that's a couple of positive comments. That's picking up your underwear, you know, and actually hitting the laundry basket. You know, that's doing the dishes. You know, that's actually making sure your defibrillator works before you leave the shop. Whatever. Now, I'm making light of a lot of this stuff, but this is what drives people crazy. See, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. That's why they call it the present. Today's a gift, folks. You're alive today. Some people aren't. Some people on earth, this is their last day. And someday we'll all have our last day. It's inevitable, you know. But the point is until that day, why don't we live at our best, give it our best, love people the best? You know, take action to help your situation, to help improve your situation each and every day, all day long. You want to lose weight? Then decide to eat properly just for today. I'm not asking you to do it tomorrow. Just do it today. And then tomorrow decide to do the same thing. And then the next day you decide to do the same thing. You want to quit smoking? Just quit today. And then tomorrow decide you're going to quit. Want to get off drugs? Some prescription meds that driving you crazy? Ruining your job and your life and your marriage? You see? Then work it today. And then tomorrow work it, which is, tomorrow will be today. Tomorrow. You know, so decide to do the same thing. Just get better every day. And this is a light version of a personal rebuild. But I remember once when I was trying to lose weight, I beefed up my running to 33 miles a week. And I thought, I'm going to drop weight now. It's impossible. Failure is impossible. That's what I thought. And I didn't lose a pound in like 6 months. And I thought, how can you burn that many calories and not drop weight? Well, I'd made friends on this trail with this ultra marathoner who ran these 100-milers. And she ran on the same trail I did at the same time, it seemed like, every time I was there. And I told her my weight loss wish. And she was a little sprit of a thing. And I expected her to say, keep running, you'll drop the weight. That's what I thought she was going to say. But instead she said, you're eating wrong. And then she took off running and she was out of sight before I could drop my arms like, what? You know, but I took what she said to heart and I strictly disciplined my eating habits and I didn't cheat even one time, not a crouton, not a chip. And in 90 days I dropped 40 pounds. And that's not bad. She knew what it was. If you can't lose it with exercise, it has to be diet. It's got to be. And sometimes you have to change your diet. Your body gets used to a certain diet, so you got to switch it up. It's just the way it goes. Sometimes you get used to your life or your spouse, you know, whatever. Sometimes you got to change it up a little bit. You got to do things a little different. You might have to say I love you more times so they don't get numb to it. You know, I mean, you got to be a little bit nicer. Doesn't the Bible say, be good unto all men, but especially good to the household of faith? To the person you love, you should be especially good to. Good to everybody. You know, I mean, how many marriages are broken up because the husband or the wife was so much better to their friends or to their workmates than they were to their spouse? My mom lost a marriage that way. You know, the guy just wanted to go to Petroleum Club and hang out with his Marine buddies. You know, and he didn't spend time with us. You know, his own kids. So sort of sad. You know, so from rebuilding a life to rebuilding a city to losing a few unwanted pounds to becoming a better EMT, it all takes daily discipline. You know, the past is gone, the future is a mystery. You know, enjoy the present that's in your presence. You see, always remember your dreams won't work until you do. Or I could say, your dreams won't work unless you do. People have all these fantastic dreams of what things they want in their life, you see, but they don't do anything to go get them. You know, if you really want something, then find a way, figure it out, do these 4 steps. It's not hard. Well, it is hard. You know, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And all the successful people on earth understand this stuff, all of them, the 2%ers. And everybody else dabbles in and out of it. So in closing, none of us are strangers to troubles. Life with all its ups and downs forces us to adjust, to adapt, and to rebuild. And like I said earlier, today's the 15th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And I honor the victims and families of those brave men and women who gave and continue to give their lives in service to protect and to rebuild our country. And for all you veterans who have, given your life and your minds and your hearts to do what the country said was best for the country. I commend you and I applaud you. And I pray that our nation can be filled with people like you. People who love God, love our country, and love each other. People who are willing to dig out and rebuild their own life as well as helping other people reconstruct their lives. I salute you. You people who assess the situation. You activate an excellent attitude. You act methodically. And you who act daily. You are each and all amazing people. Thank you for your service. It's hard work, but it's always worth the necessary time and energy that it takes to rebuild a life. God bless.